God, they're such rank propagandists, while at the same time glorifying themselves and filleting themselves and acting like, we're the new media, bro. We're like above the fray. We just keep it real with people, bro.
Woke Kyle Kulinski is having a complete meltdown over Tim Pool being at the White House in this clip, as Kyle Kulinski is reeling from the fact the radical left no longer owns the media space anymore, and independent media is rising without them. And this is forcing Kyle Kulinski into an unhinged tirade over Tim Pool being able to ask questions. So let's jump in.
I have largely come to despise the space that I'm in. And when I say that, what I mean is so-called independent media, right? Or new media, however you want to refer to it. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Because a lot of the big names in this business, they are not independent by any stretch of the imagination. They are not really new by any stretch of the imagination. Really what they are fake independent media or new corporate media. And the reason I say that is because they're talking to the same corporations that the major networks talk to. They're getting the same sort of fucking brand deals that the others are. These people, a lot of the people in this business care more about the business side of it than they do about the stuff they say on air, which actually matters, right? News, information, facts, ideology. That's like secondary to like, where can I get my check, right? And so I've come to despise this space mostly because people in this space still love to suck themselves off like they're special, while at the same time falling prey to the same malincentives that mainstream media does. And so case in point, I mean, there's a million people we could talk about here, but case in point, Tim Pool. Tim Pool, as you all know, he recently had this massive scandal, both him, Dave Rubin, there were some others as well who I'm blanking. Matt Christensen, I believe, was another one. There was a few of them. And what happened was there was this media company called Tenet Media run by Lauren Chen, who was also herself a conservative commentator. And she was taking in funds, and she basically had on her network Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and all these other people. And come to find out, the feds had to get involved because Lauren Chen was basically taking massive amounts of money from the Russian government. Now, according to the indictment and according to many of the people involved, both Tim Pool and Dave Rubin didn't really know that the money was coming from Russia. But Tim's dodge was like, look, I just thought there was some shadowy billionaire that was funding Tenet Media, which is quite a dodge because to me that is just as bad. I thought some nameless, faceless billionaire was giving me hundreds of thousands of dollars to spew my propaganda, which is good for billionaires. Oh, well, aren't you so fucking exonerated, bitch? Like, what the fuck? What a dodge that is. Now, I believe it was Dave Rubin who wanted more evidence, and they sent this like fake portfolio with like Edward Gregorian was the name or something, and it was so fake, and it just showed like, here's this billionaire, and it got into like, everything was vague, and I guess Rubin was like, that's good enough. Actually, he had one issue. The issue was something on the resume said something about social justice, and he was like, disgusting, I'm against that, right? But anyway, so in my mind, just the facts on the case as they are, even if you take the most kind interpretation to the Tim Pools and the Dave Rubins, these people are barbecue chicken. Like, nobody in their audience should ever trust them ever again. There are ways to do this and keep it relatively pure. The way to do it and keep it relatively pure is what? Small dollar donations from the audience. We have a Patreon, we have a Substack for Crystal Kyle and friends. Small dollar donations. People give $2 a month, $5 a month, $7 a month, whatever it is. That's what keeps the show going. Outside of that, I just have the default ads on YouTube, which I have nothing to do with. There's a giant buffer between me and the ad team. I'm fine with that ethically as well, right? That's all. Anytime you start talking to advertisers, you start talking to big money interests, things get fucking squirrely, dog. Because then you have all these bad incentives and you end up in the same place mainstream media is in. Okay. Now, having said all that, Tim Pool has been nothing but rewarded for being a fake independent media hack, a new corporate media hack. Why? Because in the age of Trump, they just want people who are going to suck them off, right? That's why you have Newsmax, One America News Network. You have all these freaks and weirdos and losers who go in there, Mr. Trump, how is your golf game so good, sir? You won the tournament, I heard. That's amazing. Did you have fun, sir? How are you so good at keeping the gangsters and thugs and criminals out of the country, sir?
Yeah, soy boy Kyle Kulinski is at it again. Now, 3 things I have to say to what he just said. First of all, It's in the court documents as far as the tenant media, everything with Tim Pool, like that, all that actually happened. That part is true. But it literally says in the court documents by the feds that none of them knew who the money was, like where the money was coming from. So that whole part right there where he's trying to gaslight everybody. Look, if the feds say they didn't know where the money came from, what else are you going to say? Okay, like he didn't know. He took the money. Plenty of other people would have taken the money. They didn't know where it came from. It literally says that in the documents, as the Fed said. So Kyle Kulinski is just going to lie, gaslight, and just gloss over that whole fact. And then he wants to bring up Act Blue. I'm sorry, not Act Blue, but like small dollar donations. And speaking of that, Act Blue has been called out and exposed for facilitating all sorts of illegal donations through the exact same method that Kyle Kulinski just said. You can find all sorts of videos of people going to these houses like, hey, did you make 42 donations of $2 on such and such day? And it's, you know, it's all old people. It's all elderly citizens. And they're like, no, I never did that. So literally the same way that he's talking about, granted, there may be some merit to it, is exactly the same way the left and the Democrats have been facilitating illegal funding and laundering into their campaigns. And they've been outed for it. And now there's about to be a massive investigation into them. So that note, and then on the third, when he's trying to mock, you know, Newsmax and all these other, you know, media organizations that Kyle Kulinski is ripping on, right? Hey, they're just asking the president questions, right? They're not facilitating the lie of a Russian, you know, fake documentation hoax, you know, that whole thing. All of the other lies where they just constantly spewed garbage and propaganda and narrative over again. No, they're just treating him like a president. And the fact that Kyle Kulinski wants to mock the very question of, oh, like, how are you so good at keeping all these bad people out of the country? But Kyle Kulinski, this is how he did it. He closed the border. You know, that whole thing that Joe Biden left wide open for 4 years that you all wanted to say was secure and safe and all this? Like, yeah, just do the opposite of that. And guess what? You get the opposite results. Like, this is how unhinged and delusional this guy really is. Like, it's sad to say, but hit that like button if you agree, and let's get back in.
Like, we've seen it, we've covered all this. Sometimes it was so humiliating, even Trump seemed to feel like, a little too much, you're pouring it on too heavy. But so Tim Pool comes to the White House. You ready for this? He gets the first question to the White House press secretary. This is what I mean. This gives a bad name to all of what people view as new media or independent media. Again, he's not that, but that's how people broadly categorize him. This gives a bad name to all independent media, new media. It is now official. So-called independent media may be worse than mainstream media. Look at the sycophantic, ball-coddling ass question he asked. Ready?
Many of the news organizations that are represented in this room have marked in line.
Homie was just ripping Zelensky a new asshole for not wearing a suit to the White House. Now look at him. This day was 80 degrees in D.C. He still had on his fucking beanie. He was in Mar-a-Lago wearing his beanie. But I don't see a fucking suit. And look, I care? I don't care. But the point is, he cared when he was using it to bash Zelensky. But now all of a sudden, okay, anyway, let's keep going. We're just getting started here.
In this room have marked in lockstep on false narratives, such as the Very Fine People hoax, the Covington smear, and now what's being called the Maryland Man hoax, where an MS-13 gang member adjudicated by 2 different judges, I believe.
That is completely and utterly false. That is a lie. That is malicious. That is untrue. Anybody who's done a deep dive on this knows that is untrue. The administration is lying and Tim Pool is lying when they keep saying Kilmar Abrigo Garcia is an MS-13 gang member.
Simply being referred to as a Maryland Man over and over again.
Because he is that.
Now, in an effort from the White House to expand access to new companies, you've created this new media seat. So I'm wondering if you can comment on following this expansion, you've had numerous outlets disparage the companies that you've had sit here, as well as the reporters. I'm wondering if you could comment on that unprofessional behavior, as well as...
fucking wrap it up, homie. Holy shit. I know you love to hear yourself talk, but god fucking damn it. This is not about you. These questions are supposed to be, get pithy with it. Come on, motherfucker. Jesus Christ. This is embarrassing.
If you could comment on the unprofessional behavior, as well as elaborate if there's any plans to expand access to new companies.
Sure.
So do you understand what that question was? You understand what that question was? A lot of these media outlets in here have criticized you, and they've been really mean to you. Can you comment on their despicable behavior and pat me on the head and tell me I'm a good little boy for coddling your nutsack? How fucking gross are these? Jesus Christ. God, they're such rank propagandists, while at the same time glorifying themselves and filleting themselves and acting like, we're the new media, bro. We're like above the fray. We just keep it real with people, bro.
I think Kyle Kulinski just simply can't stand the fact that he's not the one at the White House. Like, I think that's really what's going on here. Like, Kyle Kulinski is just so butthurt because he despises Tim Pool, and he's just so mad over the fact that he's the one who gets to go and actually ask any questions at all. I mean, he wants to hate on for his beanie. Like, all right, I can get that. You know, he's not wearing a suit, but it's also his brand. You know, I don't know how that works with this independent seat, but it's just so hilarious. Like, they always want to throw such a fit when they don't get their way. It's just set. And then they just project it onto everybody else when they're trying to ask, like, maybe some real questions and not all of this garbage nonsense that has been spewed by this mainstream cult over the last 9 years with outrageous, stupid questions just gaslighting everybody into a delusional woke hoax. Like maybe that, because yeah, there is evidence that Abrego Garcia is a gang member, and the left is just lying about it. They even had a senator who tried to go down to El Salvador and speak to the president, which is in violation of the Logan Act, because you can't conduct international foreign affairs that is only for the president. They're literally breaking federal laws trying to keep this hoax alive in spite of all of the evidence. And poor sad soy boy Kyle Kulinski is just hook, line, and sinker for the whole thing. But he wants to hate on the independent media because they actually have at least half a brain. But folks, let me know in the comments how delusional you think Kyle Kulinski is and what you thought about what he had to say about Tim Pool being at the White House to ask some serious questions, which has sent him into this absolutely unhinged tirade. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.